Okay, so let's talk about something that might hit a little close to home. Have you ever felt like you're just acing all the tests in life, but you're still not getting ahead? Well, if that's you, you're in the great place. We're about to dive into this really weird paradox. Why having all the book smarts in the world doesn't automatically mean you're going to win at the game of life.
All right, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and put the question right out there, because it's the one that stings the most. If you're so smart, why aren't you rich? Or forget rich, why aren't you happy? Why don't you feel fulfilled? These are tough questions for sure, but the answer? Well, the answer tells us everything we need to know. And this quote, this just cuts through all the noise. For just a minute, forget about your GPA, your SAT scores, all those fancy degrees on the wall. The argument here is that the real test of intelligence, the only one that actually matters, is whether or not you're able to build the life you want. Are you getting what you want? That is the real IQ test.
So first things first, let's make sure we're on the same page. On one hand, you've got book smarts. This is all about theory, what works on paper. It's measured by your diploma, your certifications, all those credentials. And on the other hand, you've got street smarts. This is completely different. It's only about one thing, getting results in the messy, chaotic, real world. And it's measured by, well, reality. So where does it all go wrong? Where's the disconnect? Well, it starts right up here, in your head. We'll call it the mindset gap. This is that tricky place where the exact same habits that made you a star student start to actually work against you out in the real world. And these are the big ones, the classic traps that school accidentally sets for us. Think about it. In school, you're trained to hunt for that one single right answer. You get punished for mistakes, you get a big red X, you crave those gold stars, that approval from the teacher. And you're taught that pretty much every problem has a neat, tidy, logical answer. But life, come on, we all know life isn't like that. Not even close. Let's really zoom in on one of these because it's a huge one, the validation trap. This is when your whole sense of who you are gets tangled up in getting that pat on the back from a boss or a professor or even your own family. And here's why it's so dangerous. You start chipping away at who you really are, sacrificing what you actually want just to get applause from other people. And this is the end result. When your ego, your identity is all about being the smart one who's always right, every little mistake feels like a personal failure. So what do? Instead of just learning the lesson and moving on, you waste all this energy defending a decision that's already done, instead of using that energy to, fix where you're going. Because here's the thing, success isn't just about one score. It's more like a balanced portfolio across 5 key areas of life: your money, your health, your mind, your relationships, and how you feel emotionally. It doesn't matter if you have a genius-level intellect, if all the other pillars are crumbling around you, you're still losing the game. So, a broken mindset, it almost always leads to something even more destructive. We'll call it the action gap. This is what happens when all your time is spent thinking and none of it is spent doing. And believe me, the cost of that hesitation is absolutely massive. Let me know if any of this sounds a little familiar. You analyze a good idea until the opportunity just withers and dies. You have a perfectly logical reason for every single failure, but not a plan for success. You think that just following the rules and doing what you're told is the same as actually being good at your job. Or you're just stuck in your head, always dreaming about one day. Yep, that's the action gap. And hey, if you want some cold, hard data on this, get this. Just 5.5% of university graduates ever go on to start their own business. The overwhelming majority, they become fantastic employees, which is great, but they hesitate to take that big risk, to be the one in charge, to build something from scratch. And man, we all know this story, right? It's that person who just went for it while you were still building your spreadsheet and making pro-con lists. They made mistakes, they learned as they went, and now they're the ones reaping all the rewards. The price of doing nothing is it's brutal. So, how do you fix it? How do you break out of this paralysis? Well, here's a simple but really powerful challenge. For the next 3 months, whenever you face a big decision, do this. First, put a timer on it, a hard deadline. When that clock hits 0, you make the choice. No more delays. And then, you jump in. You just go. You're literally training your brain to be a decider, not just a thinker. Okay, so we've talked about the internal mindset, and we've talked about the lack of action that comes from it. Now for part 3, the reality check. This is what happens when a mind that's built for theory and neat little boxes slams right into the messy, chaotic, and frankly, unfair real world. A perfect example of this is how we deal with criticism. The classic book smart approach, you take it personally. It feels like an insult to your intelligence, so you get defensive. The street smart approach, it's just data. That's it. You extract the useful part, you toss out the emotional noise, and you use that data to get better. One is about protecting your ego, the other is about progress. And this defensiveness leads to these massive blind spots. You might be brilliant on paper, but you can't read the room. You miss a huge shift in a market because it doesn't fit your models. You might get taken advantage of because you assume everyone else is as logical and honest as you are. Or, and this is a big one, you think being brutally honest is a sign of intelligence, when really you're just burning bridges left and right.
It really just boils down to this. If your entire identity is wrapped up in being the person who's always right, you're actually incredibly fragile. You'll just evaporate under real pressure. But if your identity is built around learning and adapting, you can evolve. You see feedback as a tool, not as a threat.
All right, let's bring all this home right into the here and now, because there is a new player on the field that is changing the entire game. I'm talking about AI. In this new world, the value of different kinds of intelligence is shifting under our feet. And the future? Well, the future belongs to the street smart.
Here it is, the new reality that we all have to grapple with. Artificial intelligence has basically turned book smarts, the ability to memorize, recall, and process huge amounts of information into a cheap commodity. It's everywhere. And when a machine can do something faster, better, and cheaper than a human, the value of that skill for humans just plummets.
I mean, you can see it right here. The economic reward for having pure academic knowledge is falling off a cliff. The skills that used to guarantee you a good life are now being automated away. So where does that leave us? What's left?
Your new edge, your new superpower, is in all the things that AI can't do. We're talking about raw grit, that refusal to quit when things get hard. Social alchemy, the magic of reading people, of building alliances, of true negotiation. The sheer guts to make bold bets when the data isn't perfect. And the creativity to dream up solutions that no one's ever thought of before. I absolutely love this way of putting it. The street shark. This isn't the person who knows the most facts. It's the person who can swim in the murky waters of the real world, who can see an angle nobody else sees, who can finesse a solution that a machine would never, ever come up with. That's the new valuable.
And that brings us to the final, unavoidable question we all have to ask ourselves. The rules have changed. The game is different. Value is shifting away from what you know and toward what you can do.